Tony Casio.
I want to go to back to Iran, since 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Have you, in the last 3 or 4 days, gotten a sense of why the Iranians had those repeated actions last week? It's fairly extraordinary. Where the shots are fired. Is there a change in the IRGC's thinking in terms of possibly more harassment of the United States? And since the world's oil community reacts to every hiccup over there, do you see the IRGC potentially harassing commercial traffic over there, oil traffic?
Well, I don't think I can get inside the mind of the the Iranian regime and the IRGC to understand exactly what they're thinking in terms of their actions. And while we saw some activity here in the last couple of weeks, that's not particularly new. We've seen that over time, and as I think as we've reported in the past, that about 10% of the normal interactions that we have in there are things that we would consider to be unprofessional, unsafe, and that's been a factor over time. I guess I would point out this, is that, Iran's actions here are in the Arabian Gulf are unlike anybody else. No one else does what they do in the Arabian Gulf. They don't go out and they don't drive fast boats towards the military vessels out there in the same way that they do. And nobody else does that. And so, what in international waters. And so what I call on Iran to do is to be the professional force that they claim to be. Professional militaries, professional maritime forces don't operate in that way. We acknowledge all parties, all countries in that area have the right to operate in international waters, but they should do so in a responsible manner. And what we see with the Iranians is not particularly responsible. It is provocative in some cases, and it's unsafe, and it can lead to situations where we may not be able to de-escalate in a time before something happens. So I'm very focused on this, and I'm very proud of the way that our forces operate and the way they conduct themselves. I think we are very professional. I think they're very measured. I think we're applying our values as we do this, but I am concerned about those types of activities that are just plain unprofessional and really aren't replicated by anybody else operating in the area.
Any sense, though, that the world oil community wants to feel there's some security there? Do you get a sense that the Iranians may try to harass commercial?
I don't have any sense that they're going to try to harass any commercial activities.
Lucas Tomlinson.
Just to follow up on Tony's question, General Votel, the great landmark between the United States and Iran in the past decade has been this nuclear accord, and since the accord was reached, we've seen a doubling of harassment of U.S. Navy ships. We've seen a number of ballistic missile launches. Has this nuclear agreement, in fact, emboldened Iran?
Well, I don't know if I'm not sure I'm qualified to make that assessment, Lucas. But I would say that we haven't seen a significant change in their behavior, just as we've kind of been talking about here with the agreement. So to me, that remains a concern, and it remains something we're going to have to continue to deal with in this part of the world and pay attention to. And as regards to the other capabilities that they're beginning to add, we're, as a CENTCOM commander, it's certainly my responsibility to pay very close attention to that and provide advice to the Secretary on how we should be looking at that and dealing with that if we're going to have to do something there. So we're paying very, very close attention to all of that.
What do you attribute this newfound Iranian aggressiveness? Is it safe to say that since the deal, instead of Iran dialing back its behavior, they've in fact become more emboldened?
I don't know. Again, I'm not. You'd have to talk to the Iranian regime leadership about this. What I see is this is principally the regime leadership trying to exert their influence and authority in the region, and they are trying to do it in provocative ways that are unsafe, unprofessional, and really I think work against their objectives in the long term here. But I'd want to emphasize that about 90% of these unsafe, unprofessional activities we see come from the Iranian Quds Force Navy vessels. They don't come from the general Iranian Navy. Only a very, very small percentage of them do. So this is, in my view, is not about the Iranian people. It's about the Iranian regime and their desire to continue to do these types of things that stoke instability or attempt to stoke instability in the region.